The sound of the scissors cutting through the silence was louder than the music playing inside the mansion. Hundreds of guests stopped talking. Crystal glasses remained frozen in people's hands. Nobody moved, because everyone had just watched billionaire Adrian Keller's fiancée do something they never expected. Claudia Moretti had grabbed the maid's long hair and cut it off in the middle of the charity gala. And she was smiling. She thought she had finally taught the quiet maid a lesson. But she had no idea that the hair she cut away was hiding a story that would change everything. Amelia Hart was 38 years old. For almost 2 years, she had worked inside the Keller mansion as a housekeeper. She was the kind of person most people never noticed. She arrived before sunrise. She cleaned every room perfectly. She remembered every guest's favorite drink. She helped everyone around her. But she never talked about herself, not once. The staff knew only a few things about Amelia. She lived alone. She had no expensive clothes, and she always kept her long brown hair carefully tied over her left shoulder. Even during the hottest summer days, she never allowed anyone to see the skin beneath it. Some people thought she was simply private. Others thought she was hiding something. They were right, but nobody knew the reason except Amelia, and she planned to take that secret to her grave. Adrian Keller, the owner of the mansion, was one of the most successful businessmen in the country. Millions knew his name. Millions admired his success. But behind his wealth was a memory he could never forget. 10 years earlier, before he became a billionaire, Adrian survived a terrible apartment fire. He lost everything that night: his home, his belongings, almost his life. He remembered waking up in the hospital and hearing that someone had risked her own life to save him. A stranger had entered the burning building and pulled him outside. She suffered serious injuries while protecting him. But before Adrian could learn her name, she disappeared. He spent years trying to find her, not because he wanted to reward her with money, but because he wanted to say 2 simple words: thank you. Now, years later, Adrian had built a new life, a beautiful mansion, a successful company, and a young daughter named Emma. Emma was 10 years old, and unlike most people in the mansion, she never judged Amelia. She saw the person behind the uniform. She would sit with Amelia in the kitchen while she prepared dinner. She would ask about her old songs. She would tell her secrets she never told anyone else. One evening, Emma watched Claudia walk into the room. The moment Amelia saw her, she became nervous. Emma noticed. "Why does Amelia look scared whenever Claudia comes near her?" she asked her father. Adrian looked toward Amelia, then toward Claudia, but he said nothing. At that moment, he didn't realize his silence would become one of his biggest regrets. Because Claudia Moretti was not the kind person everyone believed she was. She was beautiful, elegant, and obsessed with becoming the perfect billionaire's wife. She cared about appearances more than people. From the first day she entered the Keller mansion, she treated Amelia differently. She snapped her fingers instead of asking politely. She purposely created extra work. She corrected Amelia in front of guests just to embarrass her. And every time Amelia stayed silent, Claudia smiled, because she believed silence meant weakness. She was wrong. She had no idea who Amelia Hart really was. And on the night of the biggest event of the year, the entire world was about to find out. The night of the charity gala finally arrived. The Keller mansion had never looked more beautiful. Golden lights covered the garden. Luxury cars filled the driveway. The most influential people in the city walked through the doors, hoping to be seen beside Adrian Keller and his future wife. For Claudia Moretti, this night was supposed to be perfect. She wanted everyone to remember one thing: she was about to become Mrs. Keller. Before the guests arrived, she found Amelia in the hallway. The maid was arranging flowers near the entrance. Claudia looked at her from head to toe. "Tonight everything must be perfect," she said. Amelia lowered her eyes. "Of course, Miss Moretti." Claudia stepped closer. "And remember, people like you are invisible when important people are around." Amelia said nothing. She simply continued arranging the flowers. That made Claudia even more angry, because Amelia never reacted, never argued, never begged. During the evening, everything seemed perfect. Guests laughed, music filled the mansion. Adrian greeted important investors. Emma sat beside Amelia whenever she could. But then, something went wrong. A waiter walking through the crowd accidentally bumped into Claudia. A glass of expensive red wine spilled onto the bottom of her designer dress. The entire room turned. Claudia looked down at the stain. Her expression changed. Everyone expected her to blame the waiter, but instead, she slowly turned toward Amelia. She did it. The room became quiet. Amelia looked shocked. "Miss Moretti, I was standing across the room." Claudia smiled. "Are you calling me a liar?" Nobody answered, because nobody wanted to challenge Adrian Keller's fiancée. Adrian looked at Amelia. He knew something felt wrong. He had seen her work for years. He knew she was careful, but he hesitated. For 1 second, he chose silence. And Amelia noticed. That 1 second hurt more than Claudia's words. Claudia walked closer. "You always hide behind that hair," she whispered. Amelia stepped back. "Please don't." But Claudia wasn't listening. She reached into a nearby table and grabbed a pair of decorative scissors used for cutting ribbons. Several guests gasped. "Claudia, stop," Adrian finally said, but it was too late. With one sharp movement, she cut through Amelia's long hair. The strands fell onto the marble floor. Nobody spoke. Nobody knew what to say. Claudia smiled proudly. "There, now everyone can finally see you." But then, her smile disappeared, because when Amelia's hair fell away from her shoulder, the room saw what she had hidden for years. Burn scars. Not small marks, not something easily forgotten. They were the lasting evidence of a night that had changed her entire life. The guests who had been watching with curiosity suddenly looked away in shame. But Adrian couldn't move. His face became pale because he knew those scars. Not from a photograph, not from a story, from a memory. A memory he carried every single day. 10 years earlier, when the fire trapped him inside his apartment, a young woman had entered through the flames. She had wrapped him in a wet blanket. She had protected him while smoke filled the room. When firefighters arrived, she was the one who needed medical help afterward. Adrian never saw her face clearly, but he remembered one thing: long hair covering her injured shoulder. Now he was standing in front of that same person. The woman everyone ignored. The woman wearing a maid's uniform. The woman who saved his life. "Amelia," Adrian whispered. She looked up. His voice broke. "It was you." The entire room froze. Claudia's expression changed. "What are you talking about?" Adrian ignored her. He walked toward Amelia slowly. "You were there that night." Amelia's eyes filled with tears. She had spent years hoping nobody would ever discover the truth. "I didn't want you to know," she whispered. "Why?" She looked at the guests around her. "Because I didn't save you for money," her voice trembled. "I didn't save you because I thought one day you would become powerful. I saved you because you were a person who needed help." Adrian's eyes filled with emotion. Amelia explained that after the fire, her recovery changed her life. She struggled with medical expenses. She lost her old job. People treated her differently because of her scars. So she stopped telling her story. She stopped searching for recognition. She only wanted a quiet life. A life where people saw Amelia, not her scars. Adrian turned toward Claudia. His disappointment was stronger than anger. "You cut away the hair of the woman who gave me another chance to live." Claudia tried to explain. "I didn't know." Adrian slowly shook his head. "That's the problem. You didn't know her story, but you decided she wasn't worth respect." The room became silent. Adrian removed the engagement ring from Claudia's hand. Not violently, not with hatred, just with disappointment. "Our engagement ends tonight." Claudia looked around. For the first time, she was the person nobody wanted to defend. She walked away from the mansion alone, and nobody stopped her. Then something happened that nobody expected. Adrian Keller, one of the richest men in the world, knelt down in front of Amelia, not as a billionaire, not as a businessman, but as a man thanking the person who gave him his future. "Thank you," he whispered. "Those two words are not enough for what you did." Emma ran toward Amelia and hugged her. "I knew you were special." For the first time in years, Amelia smiled without fear. Months later, Adrian created a foundation to help burn survivors rebuild their lives. Amelia became the person who inspired thousands, not because she was perfect, but because she survived. The scars she spent years hiding became the symbol of her courage, and the hair Claudia cut away to humiliate her revealed the truth the world needed to see. Sometimes the people we overlook are the very people who save us, and sometimes the scars someone tries to hide are the greatest proof of their strength.